Flamingo chef, show us what you got, with cocktails and dishes that hit the sweet spot.
All right, for our roast, it's actually pretty simple. We're going to need a chuck roast. Now, you can use any kind of roast you want, but for this particular cook, you're going to want a chuck roast. It's going to turn out the best. This is about a 2.5 pound chuck roast that was on sale at my local Dillon store, which is a Kroger store. Carrots, they're actually going to be toward the end of the cook, but if you like carrots, you're going to want more carrots. As far as potatoes, if you want to cook the potatoes with the roast, that's fine, but it won't taste the same. I'm going to cook the potatoes separately and make mashed potatoes. I'm going to need 1 medium onion. I'm going to need some salt, pepper, and garlic. You'll need some beef stock, but I'm going to use this Better Than Bouillon Italian herb stock because I like the flavor it produces better. And I'm also going to use a little bit of chili verde seasoning, but this is optional. It just adds a little bit of spice. You'll need a good sized pan that we're going to cook the roast initially to brown it in. And then you're also going to need a slow cooker, something I don't use very often, but to do this, it is necessary. First thing you're going to do is chop up the onion into very small parts. First thing I'm going to do is melt down some butter in this pan. I've got about maybe 2.5 tablespoons of garlic butter. That's the Chef Chamois butter that I use quite often. You've probably seen it. If you haven't, I'll show you what it looks like. This product can be picked up at your local Sam's Club, and I'm telling you, they're not a sponsor, but I do love this stuff. This is really a great product. Now you can make your own garlic butter, or you can use regular butter or whatever, but this stuff is awesome. It's butter with garlic and Parmesan. And yes, I make my own quite often, but this stuff is good. So I'm using 2.5 tablespoons of that. I'm going to turn the heat up to high. And as the butter is melting down, I've got my chopped up, finely chopped onion. It's going to go right there into the pan and saute a little bit. After the onions have had just a couple of minutes to saute and break down a little bit, you're going to see that butter rising around. I've noticed I've got a peel in here that I don't want, so we'll get that out. Now, what I'm going to do is kind of push the onions around to the sides of the pan. I'm just going to take this piece of meat and set it right on there. All I'm doing here is browning the outside of this, but I do want to take a little bit of the salt, pepper, and garlic, maybe a teaspoon, and just kind of drizzle over the whole pan. That's probably a couple of teaspoons, honestly. And I'm also going to do about half as much of this chili verde, just to give it a little flavor. And we're probably done with that. We're just going to move this around in the pan. We just want to get a nice browning on one side. Then we're going to turn it over, do the same thing to the other side, and re-season it just a tiny bit if it needs it, but it probably won't. I also want to get a little bit of steam going here, so I'm going to add a little bit of water. I'm adding about 2 ounces of water, just enough to create a little steam bath around the outside of the meat. I'm going to go ahead and flip this over. You see it's got a nice browning on it, but it's not overly cooked. I'll move it around again. Probably doesn't need any more seasoning. In the meantime, we're going to start up the slow cooker. I just want to make sure that it gets warm and ready to use. All right, I've got a browning on the meat. I'm going to take it off the heat. This is a quart, half stock, half water. I'm just going to add a few ounces of that to deglaze the pan. And you can actually use the meat to deglaze the pan by moving it around. Now we're going to open up our slow cooker. And we're going to add our meat to that first. And just kind of fit it into the bottom. You can hear that sizzle because that slow cooker is already warm. And then I'm going to dump the stock that's in my pan into the slow cooker first. And that has, of course, our onions and all of the runoff from the meat. We're going to make sure we get all of that out of there, so we get all that good stuff into the pan. Okay. Then we're going to take the rest of this stock and put it in there until it's even with the top of the meat. And I'll show you what I mean by that. So you can see I've got the meat so it's not completely submerged. The stock is right at the top of it. The rest of my stock, which is almost half of it, is going to set to the side to add later if I need to. We're going to go ahead and close this up and let this thing cook. One thing to remember when you're cooking with a slow cooker, don't be in a hurry. Just let it do its thing. This is going to cook most of the day. I'll probably open it up every 2 to 3 hours maybe, and just look at the consistency. How's the meat doing? How much liquid do we have? Do we need any more liquid, etc. When we're probably about an hour from taking the meat off, I'm going to go ahead and add some carrots in there. Just peel them and throw them in, or you can steam them separately or whatever. It's been 2 hours. Let's see what it looks like. Oh yeah, you can see you've got some of the meat fat around the outsides. And you see how that's darkening up. That looks really nice. I'm going to close this up and let it keep working. This has been cooking for close to 4 hours, so I'm sure it's probably done. We're going to open it up and take a look. And the meat is pretty tender. I'm going to go ahead and flip it over, and you can see it's at that point where it's just starting to try to fall apart. So we're going to go ahead and let this cook a couple more hours and just completely break down to where it's shredding. In the meantime, I'm going to add some carrots to this and let them cook as well. As far as carrots go, I cut up, first I peeled that whole 2 pounds of carrots, and you can cut them any way you like. I like them kind of thick and basically finger length. They cook well that way. And I'm just going to dump all those in that pot and let them cook for about the next 1.5 to 2 hours. And then we'll take the meat out and make gravy. In the meantime, I'm going to make some mashed potatoes. All right, it's time to take everything out of here so we can make gravy. The carrots are nice and done. We're just going to kind of set them off to the side. Now, when you take this meat out, it's been in here a long time and it's going to fall apart. So don't expect it to come out in one giant piece. You can see that is absolutely gorgeous. And it is cooked, falling apart. Best thing in the world you can do with a chuck roast. There is the carrots and the meat. Now, you can do whatever you want from here. You don't have to make gravy, but I'm going to use the broth that's in here, and I'm actually just going to stir in some flour and create a gravy from that. This is a slurry. It's just flour and water mixed together. It just keeps it from turning into giant lumps. And I'm just going to stir that in there. So that I can get the consistency of gravy that I want. And that's really all there is to it. I'm going to serve this up on a plate. I'm just going to put some mashed potatoes on the plate, put some meat on it, let the gravy roll over the top, and put some carrots on the side. Good to go. But you can serve it any way your little heart desires. Until next time, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. If there's something you'd like me to make, you got to let me know. Bill@KansasFlamingoChef.com. Visit the website, KansasFlamingoChef.com. It's being redone as we speak. And I'll see you on the next one. Eat fabulous.
In the heart of Kansas, under sky so clear, lives a chef with a flair, bringing folks some cheer. With a pinch of love and a dash of zest, he's the Kansas Flamingo, and his meals are the best.